Welcome to the Band Director Bootcamp podcast, the go-to place for busy band directors who want practical to build programs while maintaining balance in their lives. This podcast is brought to you by the Empowered Music Educator Academy, where we help directors like you find efficiency, sustainability, and impact in your teaching and leadership. And speaking of impact, our platinum sponsor, Kennelly Keys Music, has been serving musicians with a commitment to quality, reliability, and exceptional service. Whether you need top-tier instruments, expert repairs, or trusted advice, they've got you covered. Now, let's dive in and set the tempo for success.
Welcome to another episode of the Band Director Bootcamp podcast, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. We know you don't have time for long professional development webinars, so we provide 20-minute tidbits that you can have with takeaways to help make your life easier. And today I'm excited to bring to you Professor Stephanie Sanders. She's a dedicated music educator and an advocate for women in the field of band directing. In a profession that honestly is still pretty dominated by men, especially at the high school and collegiate levels, Stephanie has made it her mission to encourage and uplift women, ensuring they take advantage of every opportunity to grow and to lead. And today we're going to talk about resilience, representation, and the power of mentorship. So if you've ever felt like you're the only woman in the room or you're looking for guidance as to how to keep pushing forward, this episode's going to be packed with insights just for you. So Professor Stephanie Sanders, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. Well, you come with quite a lovely list of accomplishments with your background as the director of bands at Norfolk State University in Virginia for over 20 years and teaching, 33 years now, you said? And you've been at other universities in Mississippi and then also as a public school teacher, as well as a private instructor and recording artist and freelancer. And she's dropped another CD, you guys. So we've got this amazing woman with us today. And we're not man bashing, so this isn't what that's about. But we're talking about being a woman in a male dominated field. And so tell me, Stephanie, why are you interested in this? Why are we talking about it? How did you get interested in this particular topic?
I've been in music, starting in fourth grade, and I actually had a woman band director when I was in Catholic school who just took a liking to me, and I just started to develop, that love for music. My mother was it still is my biggest supporter, and I've just had good teachers over the years, private lesson instructors as well as band directors, who have encouraged me, to pursue music. And I think this is my passion. So, and what I tell my students all the time, always try to pick something in whatever field you choose, that if you wake up every day and if you don't get paid, if you still love your job, then this must be something for you to do. And I love it. I love it. I love getting up every day. And I love seeing kids progress from one, coming in as freshmen, and then when they graduate, and even with some that extend their time and get their masters, it's just a wonderful feeling just to see those kids progress.
Isn't that one of the coolest parts about music teaching is you keep them for a long time. You watch this, not just a little snippet like most teachers get. We get so lucky. Because, they come in, whether it's as beginning in fifth or sixth grade band or freshmen in high school or freshmen in college, wherever they are at that beginning, it always seems like they're sort of scared and you're like, are they ever going to make it? And then just within a few years, it's always amazing. So, being part of that, it's such a privilege to be part of that cool process. Tell me about some of the obstacles you faced as a woman in this field.
Over the years, I guess being misunderstood, being the angry woman,
Oh, yeah.
or we're so sensitive about particular subjects, or we don't have any authority of certain, different subjects in music and things of that nature. And also just being mistaken as being the band parent or the band wife versus being the director.
I finally bought a jacket that says Jackson Band Director because I'm tired of people talking to my husband and thinking I was just hanging out. I know.
But that and sometimes being overlooked, sometimes from administration, sometimes about things. But you have to persevere. And well, I'm a religious person too. I do pray on things too. And I guess with this age, especially going through COVID, with a sense of belonging and knowing who you are and standing strong and just pushing through. And especially if this is what your love is, then you just have to keep pushing on, despite obstacles that come your way. Could be people, could be situations, and to create a resource for yourself, of a support system of not only just women, but of people of like minds, that can educate you, enlighten you, and give you those resources, just like this podcast, to give you a nice resource of some tips and tools and small gems that you can give to people that, might spark that interest, or say, I never thought of it this way, or I never thought to get out of a certain situation, to move forward. And, not even just with just teaching the kids in the subject matter, but of just personal situations. And then just finding yourself, in a sense, in the world of music, being a woman, being in the field.
You talk about like mentorships and creating community. Do you promote like people like really formal mentorships, hiring somebody? Do you think that there's more informal? What kind of ways do you see it being successful? Because I often see people saying, "Oh, I should mentor somebody," and then it doesn't always follow through. How do you make that successful?
I think sometimes the formal way is actually really good if you set up a system to do that. I'm actually the advisor for Tau Beta Sigma, honorary band sorority here at the university, and we have a little sister, big sister program, and it really starts from there to just developing bonds. And sometimes you need someone to give you some incitement of how things go and run, what you've encountered, and how to get out of those situations, especially the resources. Sometimes if you don't have the resources, and if you don't know, especially for my younger women that are just getting fresh out of school, and getting into the field, just getting who do you know, getting in touch with your education, music education association for that state, as well as NAFME, and then the women band directors, and then any other small groups. And then now with technology, we've got so many groups, Facebook groups, Instagram groups, following certain people that can give you those little ideas and things.
There are some really great resources, like Facebook, for example. There's a middle school band director page, for example, and another one, music teacher moms, and just all these different groups where you're foolish not to take advantage of those kinds of things, because we're often the only music teacher in a building, or we might be in a place that's far away. But like you said, the technology can bring us together, and like no time in the past, right? You're a professor, but I bet if somebody who's teaching, beginning band in a rural area reached out to you, you would take the time to respond and try to help or hook them up with somebody. People just have to ask, right?
Yeah. So a lot, and I'll say that as a woman, sometimes they're afraid to ask, or I hate to say that sometimes they're shunned to ask. Like, how, dare you ask this question? Well, you want to be knowledgeable not only for yourself but for your students. You want a band program for your students, and I encourage everyone. Of course, I encourage women, of course, because we're so few in number in the field. If there is an emergence of them now, don't get me wrong, but we still are a minority in the big scheme of things, and it's just like I was talking about a little earlier, during COVID, that group of African-American band directors, all levels from elementary up through college, we got together during COVID. And that has been an encouraging group to me. It's been like a mentoring group to me. We offer small scholarships, little book scholarships for some of the girls who are music majors, to help, if it's not, but to help for books, or, maybe to get some reads, or, get a mouthpiece, or, to get some music, build your repertoire up. And just serving the community, and to know that you have a group of women amongst all women that has a support group. And it's nice. I just wish, like we talked earlier, I wish when we first started teaching band that we had a support group of women. And it's so funny. Like, this is funny still when you go to conferences and, you can see a sea of men sometimes. And then when you see one woman, oh, I see you, I see you, I see you. And it's just nice, and I'm a little social butterfly, I guess you can say. And I will walk up to you. Where are you from? Did you just start teaching? Oh, you've been teaching 20 years? Oh my goodness, where are you located? I have never heard of you. Okay, here's my card. Let's keep in touch, and just things of that nature. Or someone calls and says, Miss Sanders, I need a fingering chart really bad. I need you to help me. Okay, I'm having problems with embouchure situations. Can you help me out? Or I have a student. He is so funny. I have no children, but I have birthed about 400 kids over the years. So, but he's one of my favorite students. And I told him, I said, you can call me anytime. So he calls me in class while he's in school. He says, look, I'm having a student and I'm having a hard time with him. Can you talk with him for about like 10 minutes and put him in his office and talk to him, just about, he was a very good child, just very focused, but just really need to be a little disciplined on certain things, and wants to decide to do music. And I said, look, if you have to be a model person for your classmates, and if you can do that, you got to help people. You got to help. And the same thing with us. We all have to help each other in this field. Any little gems that you can give me. Okay, if this is going to help me with intonation, baby, I will take it. I will take it. About organizing music, a lot of times too, going through these music education programs, we're not equipped, of dealing with the administration side. We learn the pedagogy and all of this, but when you're dealing in the classroom about dealing with your principal, if you have to play for the PTA meetings, field trips, setting up budgets for yourself, fundraising if you have no money or no resources. You are the only music director, so you have to teach band and choir and orchestra. You have so many different scenarios. So you just need to, just create, like I said, create that resource and a network that you can be able to reach out at any point in time.
Yeah, because I think you're right. At least back in the olden days, I was prepared for the pedagogy and how to support my students and my community and my school and all of those things, but not myself and not all of the, a lot of other things. So I'm so glad this conversation is happening.
Well, the biggest thing is, and what is so funny, Lesley, is that we have to work about our mental health.
Oh, yeah.
This generation of educators deal with a lot of anxiety, because this generation deals with anxiety. And my thing of it is that our generation deals with depression. Now, I talked with a counselor that's actually here on campus, and I was telling him, because I have a lot of students who have some anxiety problems, and it comes down to this. This generation deals with anxiety, and what anxiety is that they think about what's happening in the future. Yeah. We didn't have the age of the internet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. We didn't have telephones,
No. We were stuck to the wall.
Smartphones, right. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have any social media things. And so They worry about things that are in the future. How someone is, how do they appear? Am I teaching well? Do they like me? Our generation deals with the past. Depression deals with the past, about things that we've thought of if things didn't go right. Okay. Oh, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. So what do we need to do to, and we have to always stay in the present. And if we can stay in the present, that keeps our mind clear and focused on what we can do in the future, but not ponder on it enough to get us anxiety, to build up that anxiety. And that's what I do with a lot of kids now. And tell them, this generation wants that instant mixture. I want to be great like you, Miss Sanders. Well, you got to practice, dear. You got to get up in the morning. Sometimes you have to do things. You can't go out and do things like you want to do. You might have to get that extra practice in of this part. We're asking you to do this part in symphonic band, and you still messing up the section from A to B. You might have to take this metronome, and a lot of it too. I'll say too, is a lot of kids don't want to be ashamed. They don't want to feel ashamed of, or they don't want you to know that they don't know. And it's okay. Our generation, we had to push through it. Mm-hmm. No matter, what happened. And especially being a woman band director, it was hard. You had to persevere throughout anything. Whatever men said, I've been in situations where we've gone to conferences and then it's the group. And then as soon as I come, they scatter. And I'm like, okay, oh yeah. Where they don't want to include you in the conversation. I mean, it's to that point. And sometimes that's kind of disappointing and disheartening. But what you have to do is just, I have done meditative things, and then also you have to know who you are and whose you are, and meaning family. And like I said, if religion and if you believe in a greater, higher being, and you have to be focused on what you want to do. And it's hard and it's a struggle. And sometimes you may still be the only woman out there, but daggone it, you be the best woman out there, And it's
gotta hand it. Oh,
I'm sorry.
As you were saying this, I've got to hand it to a lot of men these days have become much more aware of us as part of and I think are making some great strides at being inclusive. I feel differently now than I did 10 years ago, even in this profession.
I could agree. Yeah. I can agree on that. Yeah. It's nice that you're invited to the table and you can eat at the table.
Yeah. Hey, I got a couple more questions for Stephanie, but before we continue, I want to take a minute and thank our sponsor, the Empowered Music Educator Academy, for making this podcast possible. At the Empowered Music Educator Academy, we are all about helping busy band directors create successful programs, build strong communities, and feel more balanced in their professional and personal lives.
As band directors, we know that success is all about preparation, whether it's in the classroom, on the podium, or behind the scenes. That's why the Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to help you master time management, reduce stress, and create sustainable routines that keep both you and your program thriving. And when it comes to ensuring your musicians have access to top quality instruments and services, Kennelly Keys Music is the name to trust. From rentals and repairs to expert advice and outstanding customer service, Kennelly Keys is committed to keeping your program running smoothly. Visit KennellyKeysMusic.com today to explore their offerings and experience the difference of working with a company that truly cares about music education. Now, back to the show.
All right, we are back with Professor Stephanie Sanders, who's sharing some great insights from her personal experiences and the like that a lot of us have felt as music teachers, maybe like we don't fit in sometimes, and how do we get to be part of this? So if you could leave us, Stephanie, with a little bit of wisdom, let's imagine we've got somebody listening today who might be in, I'm going to say, the first 5 years of teaching, because if they've taught 5 years, they may have started right after COVID or during COVID or right before. So nothing's been the same year after year. So some of our newer teachers, if they're feeling isolated, male or female, if they're feeling isolated and like they don't belong yet, can you give us a couple of action steps that they might be able to take right away to bring on somebody? How can they do it if they're scared to reach out? Tell them.
Yeah, they're scared to reach out. First thing, I do self-reflection. Sometimes I just write things down. What are my short-term goals? What are my long-term goals? Your short-term goals are, okay, I want to achieve these 3 pieces to play for competition. Or if you're teaching, in elementary school or middle school, beginning band, hey, I want these kids to learn these 4 scales to start them out, or to have these correct fingerings. Have your short-term goals, have your long-term goals. And also not be afraid that if you don't accomplish those goals, it's not bad. Next thing, reach outside of your box. And sometimes it's so scary to reach out to a new group of people in different organizations, or your music education programs, or with NAFME. NAFME is a great resource, especially even if you move from different states. And they have little communities. So if you graduate and you're looking for persons in your area, and you can call them up and create a networking system that you can be able to not only speak with them personally, but deal with things that all of us as band directors encounter on every level. In doing that, listen to your podcast.
Hey, I like that idea.
Listen to, there's so many books coming out, emerging books out for women. I'm actually Dr. LaToya Webb.
Oh, go on, tell your story.
Yeah, I'm one of the contributors.
Me too. Hey, we're co-authors on a book. How about that? And we're TBS sisters too. So I see.
Yeah,
that.
well, LaToya was one of my favorite babies at Norfolk State.
Really? Oh, I got to go to her reception at Midwest, celebrating the book and all that. That's so cool.
Yes. Look, I remember, because she's a wonderful conductor, and I'm going to tell you a proud mama moment.
Okay.
She called me. She said, "Miss Sanders, if you're not doing anything, I'm going to conduct a Marine band in D.C. Would you come and see me conduct?" I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps. I'll move there and go.
Wow. And I mean, that was just that was like a proud mama moment. But I'm proud of her, and just all girls, and just really not even girls, but just all my students who have that love. And even if they're not music majors, I encourage them to be the best musicians outside of it, because once you graduate, if you don't become a band director, you can still play in a community band. Mm-hmm. You can still play in an orchestra. You can play at church. Yeah. You can play for anything, a tea, a luncheon. Keep yourself going. And it's nice to see kids say, "You know what, Miss Sanders, I talked to you and I picked up my trombone again." He says, "Well, I didn't sound too good, but I'm going to try to get back to the place where I was." And because music just it's bleeding in you, and it's just permeating and want to come out. I would encourage also all music educators to go to those national conventions, like go to Midwest. Go to their state conferences, and go to different connections. Yes, it's the connections. And not only that, if you're knowledgeable enough, write articles, because something that you do, just like you say, this podcast may encourage or give you an enlightenment, to spark you to do something. You may be knowledgeable or a good researcher and the latest technology and so on. So write the article for people to see. And that enlightens you as well. And just keep yourself abreast. There's so many things on the internet that, I love it when someone can teach me how to do. Because like I'll say my perfect example, the person who nominated me for this, I met her during COVID, because I wanted to be knowledgeable to getting on the computer and really teaching during COVID, because it was such a challenge with, and I didn't have any apprehension with using, technology, because I'm really a hands-on, in classroom kind of professor, but I wanted to use those new technology, programs and things to use. And she was so encouraging and she was so patient. And I said, it's just nice to just treat this old lady.
We veteran teachers can benefit from the same kind of thing with the other folks. So,
and then she says that I do the same thing for her.
Yep.
Just
and that's such a beautiful story there because we rely on each other. You and I, the old farts, we don't know everything. We're still learning too. So it's win-win when we create these relationships that we can all encourage one another with. So thank you.
I also say bring them along. Bring them along.
Yes.
You know, like we talked about earlier about the mentorship thing. If you see someone new, sometimes we do get blocks, and we have to bring and encourage each other. Yeah. And bring them up and expose them to those things because someone helped you along the way, and each one teach one. And I'm really, I'm really about passing along information and things too.
I can tell that, and I hear your passion for education and your dedication to like just lifting up women in this field and just being super inspiring. And I can see why someone asked you to be on this podcast because you bring so much to the table. And it's just you and I have been in this profession for a long time, and it's the first time we've really crossed paths. But yet there's so many connections as we talk about people. So we're one or two people away from knowing each other.
Yeah, like Kevin Bacon, 7. What is that?
That's right, 7 degrees. Half steps, whole steps, whatever.
7 degrees of separation, yes.
Yeah. So I want to do a huge thank you to Professor Stephanie Sanders for being with us today, and to all of you listeners. Thanks for showing up for your students and for all that you do to contribute to their music education experiences. The work you do matters, and so do you. Join us next time on Band Director Bootcamp for more productivity and wellness tips to help make your life a little easier.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Band Director Bootcamp podcast. Remember, success in music education isn't just about what happens on the podium. It's about taking care of yourself and setting up systems that work for you. The Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to help you do just that. So be sure to check out our resources at empowerededucator.com. And of course, a huge thank you to Kennelly Keys Music, our platinum sponsor, for their unwavering support of music educators like you. Whether you need instruments, accessories, or expert advice, their team is ready to help. Thanks for listening, and keep making music happen.